Yeah. Good. We're being held via Teams, hopefully. And all recommendations that be made today will be endorsed by me should I agree with the recommendations that the advisory committee put forward to me. Andrew.
Thank you very much, Leader, and welcome everybody to the Executive Advisory on 26th of January. If we do have any more, hopefully we won't have any more technical problems, but if we do, we will just pause the meeting to rectify those. Just to say that a copy of the recording will be made available on the Council's website within the next couple of working days. And obviously the meeting is being recorded and the format of the meeting will be as per the published agenda. I'll hand back through to the Leader of Council now, just to check that everybody can hear and see the proceedings today. Thank you very much, Leader.
Thank you. Right, I'll just go round the members of the executive, ask them to confirm that they can see and or hear, and I'll start with Deputy Leader, Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Jill Slocum, yes, I can see and hear everything. Portfolio holder for inward investment and growth. Thank you.
Councillor Caswell.
Good morning, Leader. Yes, I can clearly hear and see everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Duddridge.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Councillor Lance Duddridge, I can see and hear everything clearly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Healy.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Mark Healy, Commercial Service and Asset Management Portfolio Holder. I can clearly see and hear everything fine. Thank you.
Yeah. I believe Councillor Janet Keane has given her apologies. She's currently undergoing treatment at Musgrove, which I'm sure we all wish her well. I'll now go round management team. Chief Executive.
Good morning, everyone. Bob Brown, Chief Executive. I can see and hear everything.
Thank you. Mr. Bamsey.
Good morning, Doug Bamsey, Deputy Chief Executive. I can confirm I hear and see everything.
Mrs. Turner.
Good morning, everybody. Alison Turner, Strategic Director and Section 151 Officer. I can confirm I can see and hear everybody.
Thank you. Who else have we got? Because I'm struggling at the moment.
Yes, Duncan, you've missed me out.
Have I? Oh, sorry. Yeah, well, I know you're there.
Yeah, that's all right. Then,
if
you can just everybody else does.
Yeah, if you could just confirm that. Sorry,
I can
Andrew.
confirm. Councillor Andrew Gilling, Portfolio Holder for Housing, can confirm that I can see and hear everything at last.
Thank you. Mrs. Wellman.
Good morning, everyone. Melanie Wellman, Assistant Director and Monitoring Officer, and I can confirm that I can see and hear everything.
I'm looking at the reports. We should have Mickey Green here.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mickey Green, Managing Director of the Somerset Waste Partnership, and yep, I can see and hear everything. Thank you.
Good, thank you. And have we got Sarah Dowden?
Yes, you have. Morning, Sarah Dowden, Assistant Director, Environment and Regulation.
Thank you. And we got Claire Thorne?
Morning, yes. Claire Thorne, Corporate Relations Manager. I can see and hear everything.
Right, is that everybody? Good, okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Right, moving on then to apologies.
Yes, thank you, Leader. As you said, Councillor Janet Keane has sent her apologies for the meeting today.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Nope. Okay. Moving on then, urgent business. I've not been notified of any. Thank you. Public speaking.
The members of the public today.
Good, thank you. On to agenda item 5, which has been previously circulated. We have Somerset Waste Partnership business plan. Councillor Gilling, over to you first, and then we'll go to Mickey and Sarah Dowden.
Thank you, Leader. It gives me pleasure to present this report, and I'm delighted to see that Mr. Green is with us today, who I'm sure will guide us through the finer points of the detail. I will add my own voice of congratulation to the team down at Southwest Waste Partnership. And I feel that with this traumatic year that we've gone through with driver shortage, fuel and truck driver and lorry availability, I think we've come through an extremely difficult and tough period. We should be aware of the fact that there is inevitably going to be an overspend which has been trimmed back a little bit from the December board meeting that was held on at 1.045 million, 044 million. We've trimmed that back to 1.045 million now. So, and to their credit, I think that is their, I know it's only a modest reduction in the increase in the overspend, but nevertheless, it's a credit to the team for conducting that exercise. And without any further ado, Leader, I will hand over to Mr. Green. If there's anybody got any questions to answer, I'm sure between Mickey and Sarah, will be able to address any problems.
Thank you. Can I just confirm with Melanie beforehand that we don't need to declare interest there because member of the board?
No, because he's been appointed by this council, so that's absolutely fine.
Okay, cool. Okay, Mr. Green.
Thank you. I'll just share a few slides, not many, I promise, just to give you a quick update on how Recycle More is going, looking ahead to the rollout in Sedgemoor in a matter of weeks now, and then the business plan as well. So yes, got figures for almost a year from Mendip, so we're still seeing that significant increase, over 100 tonnes, lots more plastics, and as we'd hoped, lots more of the existing materials, particularly food, being a really important one given the carbon impact of food that ends up in people's rubbish. So really pleased with that. South Somerset, kind of similar figures, just over 100 tonnes, significant increases in plastic and food. The figures for, obviously we've only rolled out Taunton, we've only got data for about 10 weeks or so. So, you know, the smaller the period of time you look at, the kind of less accurate the data is and more exposed to fluctuation. So the numbers are slightly lower in Taunton Deane, but nothing we're yet worried about because it's too soon to tell. And obviously, as Councillor Gilling was saying, it's been a very weird year, and whilst we've done our best to kind of exclude the impact of COVID and lockdowns and therefore more tonnage at home, it clearly has been a strange time, and so all the data comes with a pinch of salt in terms of trying to attribute causality. What we will be sharing with the board when we see them in early February is that we've kind of got the first results that we're kind of confident in terms of residual waste, and that is down by about 20%, which is exactly what we hoped, and obviously that's the big environmental and financial benefit. Probably shared this with you before, so I won't dwell on it, but you know, really pleased with the results from the customer survey in Mendip, and we will be doing a customer survey around the whole county once we've rolled out the entire service. As I've said to you before, we've kind of put a lot of effort into learning lessons after each phase of rollout, and indeed from all the business continuity incidents we've had over the year. So we kind of tweaked approaches, not massive radical changes. So tweaked approaches to how we communicate which plastics we do and we don't take, and we're pleased that we've that has helped ensure that actually in every rollout, in fact, over 98% of people put the right stuff in the right place at the right time. You'll see in the business plan that one of the bits of feedback we learned from the survey was actually people really like the leaflets, they really like the calendar. So from this year onwards, we'll be doing an annual calendar. So not only does that give people that kind of fridge-sized reminder of when their collections are, it also enables us to engage with people in a way that we know is really effective, i.e. getting something through that door. We tweaked approaches to how we deliver blue bags. So for the rollout in Sedgemoor and West, we'll be starting that 3 weeks in advance, and that's just to give us a bit of a contingency, both in terms of if there's COVID absences and also because of it being the time of year it is, just that risk of inclement weather. We're continuing with what we did in Taunton Deane, which worked really well, which was to kind of have a network of libraries and shops that have some blue bags, so that if people are missed, and it is very few people that were missed in the last phase, but if they are, rather than waiting kind of 5 days for us to deliver one, they can pop somewhere local and get it. And we'll be using the chatbot a bit more as well, which is something we tested in Taunton Deane. And that's, again, just to take the pressure off your customer services team by giving people another avenue to get their questions answered. So in terms of the Sedgemoor phase, on track for end of February, we will take another kind of go, no go review with officers tomorrow, but the reality is, the Omicron variant has been less bad than we feared, and things are on track. I'm not saying there aren't significant risks, there are, but the mitigations are in place and going as well as we could hope. So we are still on track. Some of you will have attended the briefings we had in December. Hopefully some of you have seen the Recycle More Messenger, those stakeholder updates. We've had 70 requests across Sedgemoor and West Somerset for test driving the blue bag, so they should be coming soon. And yeah, lots of social media and traditional media updates. Hopefully some of you have already had your kind of warm-up leaflet through the post. I live out in West Somerset and I'm a bit tense because ours hasn't arrived, but you know, we do understand that Royal Mail are having challenges and we did delay sending that out by a week because we just wanted to see how Omicron was impacting on services after Christmas. But I don't know how you find it. I find lots of people talking about it and asking me as I go around, wander around town and occasionally into the pub. So it's good that it feels like people are starting to become aware of it. The key one will be that coming soon leaflet. That's the one that's specific to each household. It gives you your calendar, gives you your clear instructions on what goes when, tells you if you're going to have an interim rubbish collection to make sure you don't go too long as we transition from 2 weeks to 3 weeks. So things starting to ramp up. We report to the board each quarter, and I'm glad to say that this year that kind of really positive story of around 98% of recycling staying in the UK has continued. So that is really good news and something we'll continue to press and publicise because we think it really helps build trust that if people put in the effort to sort their recycling like they do, that we then make sure the right thing happens to it. Clearly, as Councillor Gilling pointed out, it's been a really challenging year. So you can see graphs there of recycling and refuse going back from June to mid-January. Recycling, you can see that spike in terms of miscollections in the summer. That's just showing the kind of miscollections. It's not showing dropped rounds, which clearly there were some of. Though I will say Sedgemoor was significantly less affected by that than some other parts of the county. You're not seeing a huge improvement there in terms of missed refuse in Sedgemoor, and that's mainly really because actually Sedgemoor didn't start in a bad place. I'm not saying each one of them isn't frustrating to people, but it wasn't impacted to the same extent as other parts of the county, which you'll see starting at a much higher level and coming down to kind of where Sedgemoor is. So, and just to remind you, you know how many households there are in Sedgemoor, and we're going to want each of them every week for recycling, each of them every 2 weeks for refuse. So it does kind of put those numbers in context. Clearly, ones we particularly worry about are where there are repeat missed collections. So you can see again, particularly spikes around the pressures over the summer, the pressures that came in late autumn last year when we opened up the new Taunton depot, which is a big improvement, but clearly it required crews to get used to driving down there to tip their materials, and pleased to see complaints significantly falling. So all of those things have kind of informed the approach to the business plan, very much continuity, but it's trying to reflect the fact, hey, we're not out of the woods. None of us know, the national driver shortage hasn't gone away. COVID appears a lot better, but none of us, have that crystal ball. But we also know there was a lot of service disruption, so we do need to focus on rebuilding trust with our partners. And clearly, it's been exhausting as well for all the staff, be they SWP, Suez, or Viridor. So outcomes remain the same: delivering excellent services, changing behaviours, and tackling climate change. I won't go through the actions in the business plan in detail, but just to highlight a couple of things. So we've got some things we've been working on in the background around signposting to zero waste shops, helping people know where all the weird and wonderful materials there are can be recycled, be it a coffee pod, be it a medical, pills blister pack. We agreed a reuse strategy, and we're hopeful we'll hear from some funding we applied for in early February, which will enable us to have a truck going around the county focused on reuse and repair of waste electrical equipment. Biggie we're really hoping for, again, it's subject to confirmation, but I'm feeling pretty positive, is that we'll be selected to be one of a very small number of local authorities around the country to trial the curbside collection of soft plastic. So your films and flexibles, be it a supermarket carrier bag, a bread bag, a crisp packet, a cat food pouch, all of those ones that we know are kind of, people ask us constantly, when will you be able to do that? So we're hopefully part of a kind of an industry trial, because a lot of the challenges are about how you process them properly, given they're a challenging suite of materials. So subject to confirmation, but that will be very exciting. And obviously, we also, hopefully you're aware that we bought an electric refuse vehicle. So that's being trialled around the county, so we understand which routes it works on and which routes it might not work on. And it's exciting partly because I think for many people that'll be the first electric heavy goods vehicle they see actually on the roads in Somerset. But as you can see, there's a lot else there. As Councillor Gilling says, there is an overspend this year. That's not a surprise, if you like. SNG, so Sarah and Alison Turner are aware. The largest part of that is the COVID costs. So we have a mechanism with Suez whereby we fund them the kind of additional direct costs. So the time it takes to do kind of staggered starts and debriefs, the extra time it takes to do extra cab cleaning, and also replacing staff where they are off with COVID. So just to make sure we keep that service stable. And I'll probably leave it there and pass back to the chair.
Thank you very much. Well, members, you've had the report. I mean, it is quite good news. Certainly, I received my warm-up leaflet like Andrew. I received that on Monday, I think it was. So that's good news indeed. I've read it, and I look forward to using the calendar when that finally arrives. Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. I'd just like to say, no, I've not received my any warm-up at all, nor my calendar, so really looking forward to getting that. And I just like to say that I think everything will be okay if there's enough instruction there. So I hope that will be, with the calendar and the details, will help people. But I just like, on a personal note, to thank you, Mickey, because we have had some, in the ward I represent, there's been some challenging times, and we've got some strange lanes. I know I don't live in the country, but we have got some weird houses that have been put in. So I just like to say I thank you for your constant sort of not telling me where to go. You've been really kind, and I really appreciate it. I really do, because I think this is one of the most important services that affect ordinary people, everyday people. And if their bin's not collected, they are, honestly, you think I'd taken their blood supply out. And I mean, it's like they're in such a state, and they get worked up and they get angry and everything else. I live in the middle of the ward, so I, like a lot of councillors, so you get the first port of call. But thank you and thank you to Sarah and the team, because action like this, mixed collections and everything else, which help you. But I've been very fortunate to be able to speak to you directly, Mickey, when things have gone on, and you've actioned it immediately. And that is, to me, that replicates how good the service is, that when we can get hold of somebody to get something sorted, I really appreciate it. So looking forward to getting the calendar and all the details, and can't wait. And well done. I also wanted to say well done to the teams as well that have been out there in very difficult conditions. Some of them only 2 on a van, sometimes some only 1. And it has been very, very difficult for them. But I think they need to know that people do appreciate them. They probably don't get to hear that, but I think they probably do need to know. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and I'll pass that on to the crews. Just to manage your expectations, the first leaflet is very much a warm-up leaflet. So it's the second leaflet that has all the calendar and the detailed information, and that's worked well in other areas in terms of you don't want to bombard people straight away with all the detail. So it's supposed to be make sure people know change is coming, when, why, and to get ready for it. So if they're not recycling food, to hopefully do it online, but to order a food waste caddy. So it's about getting ready for it rather than the detail, and that will come in the second leaflet.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got to say it looks really professional. Thank you. Moving on to Melanie Wellman.
Apologies, Leader. I realise that the advice I gave earlier regarding Councillor Gilling being on the board was slightly misleading, although correct, which is that Councillor Gilling does have a personal interest, but there's nothing that prevents him from taking part. I just wanted to record that for the recording, really. So he will be shown as having a personal interest only. Apologies for that, Leader.
Yeah, no, thank you. Then we've got Claire Fawn.
Good morning. Just to say, because I live in South Somerset, the rollout here went really smoothly. As a customer, that I found no difficulty, and it's really easy to use. So that was just that. And also we've arranged for some blue bags to be in the reception of Bridgewater House in case any of them get missed. So that's another place where people can pick them up. Thank you.
Claire sounds as though she's at a port on a boat at the moment.
No, sorry, I just got somebody's cutting the hedge.
Oh, okay,
Sorry.
thank you. Right, Councillor Evans, Bill.
Thank you, Duncan. Yeah, thank you very much, Mickey, for the presentation, and just to echo the many thanks that Jill expressed as well, because we know that your teams have done an amazing job during some very difficult circumstances. I think I read somewhere that refuse operatives were one of the highest rates for people catching COVID because of the nature of the work that they do, and I know the service pressures on you have been tremendously difficult, and your team have been outstanding in the face of that. I have received my blue bag now, and have had the excitement of putting it out for the first time on Monday morning, and did appreciate that, and all the instructions I thought were really clear and helpful. The one pushback I've had from local residents, and I wonder whether you could just advise me, is around those people who have children who are still wearing nappies, or adults who are using incontinence pads or similar, as to how their needs would be met, because obviously they can't be put in any of the recycled containers, and they would be rather whiffy if they were sat around in a black bin for 3 weeks. So advice on what to say in that instance, please, Mickey. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Glad you've got your blue bag to test drive, but just to remind you, we'd ask that you don't put it out yet for real, if you like. It's just to kind of test drive to see, you know, give you confidence and able to you to give your constituents confidence that it's not going to fly away. It does hold quite a lot. The crews will be taking them if they are put out early, but it makes life easier for them if they're not used until it goes live for real. In terms of people with large families, kids in nappies, adults with various health needs, so it's a well-worn process now that we've used and it's worked in all the other areas. So that's probably one of the big things about the warm-up leaflet, is to reach out to those people who might be worried and encourage them to get in touch, whether they do it online, whether they do it through your customer services. It will all follow through to the same process. So within limits, anybody can have as much recycling boxes and containers as they like. We do control the residual waste bins, but we have a process which means that hopefully the right solution gets to those people. It might be extra stickers to put on excess waste and advising them to put the nappies in the black bin, sorry, and the other waste with the stickers. It might be a larger bin, it might be 2 bins, it might be a permanent solution. If that situation is going to go on for a long time with a larger family or health issues, it might be a temporary solution. So that has worked well elsewhere. And yeah, the numbers in terms of how many extra bins or how many extra capacity requests came through were far lower in the earlier phases than we feared, but the process meant that we were able to support those people, and we do obviously encourage everybody to give it a go a bit first, but make sure we get the right support excuse me, out to them. And so yeah, it has worked well, and that was one of the key bits of feedback from the survey, with 84% of people saying their bin was either the right size or too big now, and clearly so it's about supporting that other 16%, if you like, to make sure that they're coping.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Members, any other comments or questions? Sarah, anything you wish to add?
No, I think what I was going to add was that, given everything we've talked about this year with all the different kind of challenges we've had, that, Mickey and the team have managed to successfully roll out Recyclemore across two other areas, particularly doing South Somerset over the summer when we were struggling. And I think it's just great news that we are on track to do Recyclemore in Sedgemoor now, as we had always planned to do. It could have been easy to kind of just say, actually, do you know what, it might be a challenge and it might be too tricky, but we've kind of pressed on with it. So yeah, really looking forward to getting Recyclemore in Sedgemoor going next month. So yeah, thank you, Mickey.
Right, good. Yeah, add my thanks as well. Right, members, with Councillor Gilling's permission, we have 2 recommendations before us. Note the progress of Recyclemore, and also to approve the Somerset Waste Partnerships draft business plan for 22-27, which was attached to the report. Are there any dissenting voices? Are there any abstentions? Mr. Melchior.
Thank you very much, Leader. That would appear to be a unanimous decision. So the two recommendations to approve the Somerset Waste Partnerships business plan and to note the progress of the Recycle More service as well. So if you're happy to confirm that you support those recommendations, Leader.
I'm happy so to confirm. Thank you very much. Moving on then to agenda item 6, which is the Port of Bridgewater Annual Port Marine Safety Code Audit 2021. A really snappy title. And I'll go straight over to Councillor Mike Caswell.
Thank you, Leader. First of all, just a reminder to all executive members that we are, as a group, the duty holder for the Port of Bridgewater. Sorry. It's an excellent report, and we seem to be given a clean bill of health, and especially draw your attention to item 3.1, as we are operating in compliance, which is wonderful. But I'm going to pass over to Mr. Coles, who will take us through the report, which I'm sure will interest you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Caswell. As Councillor Caswell says, as the duty holder for the Port of Bridgewater, the executive are jointly and individually accountable for marine safety within the Port Bridgewater. Therefore, this is an important document to bring to the committee's attention, in that it confirms that we are compliant with the Port Marine Safety Code. I'll just briefly run through the report. As discussed earlier, the audit was undertaken by Jerry Stanford from Bristol Port Company. He's the marine director up there. He came down in July last year and undertook the audit. And the audit comprises reviewing our performance in terms of safety against something called the Port Marine Safety Code, which is national guidance in relation to how ports should be run concerning safety and the safety of employees, the safety of vessels, and the safety of other port users. So Jerry Stanford came down, he went through all of our risk assessments, he went through our various procedures, reviewed our operating practices and so forth, and how we are operating in terms of pilotage. He went through all of that. He followed basically a pro forma that's been produced by the Maritime Coast Guard Agency for reviewing port safety. He went through all of that, and he found us to be compliant with the Port Marine Safety Code. He did some concluding comments, which are in 3.2, 3.3 and 3.4, which gave a very good, I think, write-ups, concluding comments on how the port is operated and the work of both the harbour masters in keeping the port compliant with the Port Marine Safety Code. This is obviously quite an important document, as like I say, this in effect, let's say protects, but protects the executive, in that it shows that as you guys are accountable for port safety, that the port is complying with the relevant legislation. It's also very important in that we are a key delivery partner for the HPC works, and we are undertaking work for them in terms of HPC deliveries. So some of the components, etc., are extremely high value. So having this in place is obviously vital in terms of things like insurances, and also giving peace of mind to EDF that we are a competent authority for undertaking that work. The full audit is attached as Appendix 1. If anyone needs to review that, and the next audit will be undertaken in the middle of this year, in which case we'll bring back a further report with any recommendations. The only thing I would point out is that obviously that he did make one suggestion about pilotage, making sure that maintenance of pilotage knowledge, etc., in that we have had obviously a drop in shipping with Hanson Aggregates closing their depot at Dunball. Therefore, we are solely reliant at the moment on EDF and National Grid work coming in, and some of that has been delayed due to the pandemic and due to, I think, something to do with Brexit in terms of supply chain. So shipping has dropped quite considerably. It will be picking up once EDF deliveries come online, which we're hoping towards the middle of this year. The main bulk will start coming in, but we may need to do some sort of exercises in relation to pilotage. Last year we did some simulation exercise at something called Wallingford to increase our, to keep our competencies up, and we've also been doing various trips up and down the river using the pilot boat, and we have had a few deliveries coming in this year. So it's just keep an eye on that. At the moment we're happy in terms of our competencies, but obviously it's something we just need to keep an eye on. And that is that summarises the audit. The only other thing is obviously the recommendation, and that is unless anyone has any objections to the audit, it's the executive review and note the findings of the designated person audit for 2021 and the compliance achieved with the Port Marine Safety Code.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it is a good report. Yeah. Councillor Mark Healy.
Yeah, thank you, Leader, and well done, Dave. That was a good report. I noticed you said about EDF, if I may, and clearly because of the times we live in, things have stalled a bit. But clearly, I know you possibly looked at the gravity site and started to talk to them because they want to use local infrastructure as well. And I think, when that site eventually does get going, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later, that they can use the facility as well. It's so near to the gravity site, it makes perfect sense. So just, and I'm sure the portfolio holder, Mrs. Slocum, will agree, and so will Councillor Caswell, that's somewhere to go. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you.
I was going to say, I thank you for raising that, Councillor. I think that is something we really want to start pushing in terms of things like gravity and other local businesses using the berths down at Dunball, because there are vacant berths down there, and so so gravity is something which we really would like to be sort of a part of that discussion, because like you say, the location of the port is so close to that site. It's got really good links to the M5 and so forth. So that's something which we really appreciate that being raised at this meeting, because that's something we really want to push for the port.
Thank you, Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I mirror what Councillor Healy said. Obviously, I think the Bridgewater Port is going to become more and more used, more and more important than ever. The gravity potential is immense. And obviously, we've always talked about the Port of Bridgewater. So I think that's absolutely given. And I hope that comes in. You said you're glad it's mentioned today. I'm hoping that it's going to be mentioned many more times, because it is absolutely vitally important. And obviously, with the changes to Dunball, the changes that they'll make that Dunball area much easier to get to for freight and things to get up there. I think that will be another issue. So I think it's going to be well. I was really pleased to hear that you're doing cruises up the river, which I know I booked in for one on the I don't know the other boat, not that boat, but the other one, I've forgotten the new one. But if you don't forget me, put me down for the summer, because I am looking forward to having a small cruise up there just to get the feel of things. I really would like that. And on a serious note, I'd like to see the layout and everything. If Councillor Caswell would allow, I would love to be able to go up and see the travelling journey and exactly what you're doing in more detail. I'm sure the councillors, Councillor Healy as well, we would like to see that. So thank you.
That's something we can definitely arrange. It's been difficult because the new boat was delivered right in the middle of COVID, so it's been difficult because of the restrictions in terms of getting people on the port and on the boat and stuff like that. But now, hopefully, fingers crossed, the restrictions and things are looking more positive with COVID. Then that's something we really, I know the harbour masters are really keen to get members of the executive out just to show them what's going on, and just to raise the profile of the port really, and to show what actually we can deliver. And I think we've got some, we are quite a small port, but we are delivering for EDF and National Grid some really, really complicated, high value cargoes. And that's something which I think, for things like Gravity or any other businesses is a really good marketing point, in that, we are delivering for the biggest infrastructure project in Europe. We are a key contributor into that. And that's something we want to start to market. And I think, yes, we would love to have executive members come out and have a look at the port and see, we can explain what we can do, and hopefully that can assist in sort of developing the business.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you. And if Councillor Slocum could have an outside berth, that would be very good.
Balcony, thank you.
Right, Councillor Mike Caswell, then I've got Councillor Mark Healy again.
Thank you again, Leader. Yes, the use of Dunball is at the forefront of our thoughts, actually, because it is the only working port in Somerset. There are ports at Watchet and Minehead, but these are not sort of the commercial standard that we would need to put into the forefront. Our harbour masters, both of them, are excellent at their job, and I can tell you, very, very, very proficient. What I will say is, with the good news about the barrier, perhaps the port of Dunball could also be used as a facility for that as well. So it's really good. We just need to get past this COVID situation and everything like that, and get everything back to normal as best we can. And of course, I welcome Councillor Healy's injection into the thought of Gravity using the port. It's wonderful news, and we really do need to do that. And it should be at the forefront of all our thoughts, as and it goes down so far as the town council in Bridgewater, because it is the port of Bridgewater. I know you can't get in and out of the docks in Bridgewater now, but it's still port of Bridgewater, and we must remember that. So thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to propose the
Right, thank you. The recommendation has been proposed, seconded. We have no further speakers. In that case, remind members of our duty and our responsibility. It's not to be taken lightly, and in doing so, are there any dissenters to the recommendation? Are there any abstentions? In that case, Mr. Mill-Hewish.
Thank you very much, Leader. And the recommendation, as set out in the report, is unanimously supported by the advisory meeting. So it's just for you to confirm if you're happy to support that recommendation too.
Yeah, and I'm happy so to do. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Coles, for your attendance today. Brilliant.
Thanks.
Thank you. Members, then moving on to agenda item 7, which I rushed through to find, which I believe will be introduced by the Deputy Leader. Without further ado, I shall hand over.
Thank you very much, Leader. Obviously, this is the Town Fund Business Case Assurance Project and the River Parrett Tidal Barrier, which is obviously a really exciting thing. I would just like to highlight to members that whilst I do not have a direct interest in the Town Deal Tidal Barrier decision today, it is right and proper that I inform you that I'm a member of the Town Deal Board who has previously signed off the business case as part of the wider sign-off process. There are significant degrees of separation in relation to the remainder of the signing off process on the basis that there is an internal SDC assurance board which assesses the business case and summary document in detail, and is that body that makes the final decision that the project can move forward to the executive, which is a combination of today's papers. Can I also confirm that Councillor Will Human is happy for the Vice Chairman to stand in for this occasion? Thank you. And I'd like to hand, if I may, Leader, over to Nathaniel Lucas, our star officer, who can give us a really, really good précis of this report in as much detail as you like. Thank you.
Oh, follow that, Nathaniel. Yeah.
I feel like I should turn my camera off. I feel like I'm blushing. Anyway, good morning to everyone. So as Jill has said, so I'm here today to talk about the River Parrett tidal barrier, and this paper seeks executive approval to submit to government a summary business case for the tidal barrier to be able to draw down £2 million worth of funding towards the project. The tidal barrier is the first of 11 projects being supported through the Town Deal board process, and this is following a successful award of £23.2 million worth of government funding, and is a result of the town investment plan that was submitted to government back in January last year. The recommendations from executive that are being sought from this report today are to approve the tidal barrier business case summary for submission to government, to note that the project programme for future business cases, and lastly to support the Vice Chair of Audit and Standards Committee becoming a substitute should a situation occur that the Chair of Audit and Standards Committee is not able to attend the assurance group meeting. I think it probably makes sense just to kind of provide a little bit of background and run through the Town Deal business case assurance process, and hopefully all of you can remember back to November last year when I brought a paper towards you, to the executive around the process. And I'll just run through the key stages that make up the assurance process just to refresh everyone's memories. So draft business cases are presented to the Town Deal board for approval. And that focuses around that it meets the Town Deal objectives, but also that the business case and the project provides value for money as well. The next stage is the SDC assurance group, and following the Town Deal board sign off, they review the business case, and the assurance group is made up of the Deputy Chief Executive, a Section 151 officer, legal representatives, and a chair of the Audit and Standards Committee as well. And then finally, once signed off by the assurance group, the agreed business case and summary report are submitted to the executive, and this is the purpose of this report and myself being on the call today to kind of run through that with you. I'm pretty sure you're all up to speed in terms of the tidal barrier, but I will just run through the background to that as well. So it's a significant, or major, in fact, infrastructure project. In the report, it states that the value of the project is 128 million, but I think it's just worth just outlining that figure of 128 million does take into consideration any additional risk costs and also optimism bias as well. So the actual construction costs are outside of those factors is in the region of around 98 million. The project itself is being led by the Environment Agency, which have produced the outline business case, and this has been through a number of different sign-offs, and I'll just run through those just to provide that background for you as well. So the Environment Agency major project groups confirmed approval last year in March. The DEFRA Investment Committee confirmed approval of the business case, or outline business case, in April last year. And then Her Majesty's Treasury DEFRA spending team also sanctioned the business case back in August last year as well. And then lastly, again, it happened only this month, and I'm sure you're all aware of it, but just to say that the Transport Work Act order was approved by the Secretary of State for DEFRA early this month, and this has approved construction, operation and maintenance of the scheme going forward as well. In terms of the economic benefits, the outline business case has demonstrated over £1.5 billion worth of economic benefits through the project itself. But at a more local level, completion of the barrier will reduce or mitigate against flooding in Bridgewater and the surrounding area, and ultimately that will mean that in the region of 11,000 homes and 1,500 businesses will be protected, as well as supporting the future strategic growth plans for Bridgewater going forward as well. In terms of the Town Deal funding itself, it's scheduled that it will be drawn down in 23-24 and 24-25, but that can be condensed into a single year if required. And whilst the Town Deal funding is a small part of the bigger funding package, it is essential that this is signed off, because what it does, it provides confidence to government in terms of that wider partnership funding package as well. I won't run through the equality implications, just because I'm sure you've all read through the report, but I just want to touch on the assurance group and the role specific to this particular kind of sign-off process. So on the 7th of January this year, the assurance group met. Unfortunately, on this occasion, the chair of Audit and Standards was able to attend the meeting, but I can confirm that she has reviewed the papers at a later date and confirmed her agreement as well. And that culminated ultimately in the assurance group endorsing the business case and the recommendations within it, and ultimately allowing the sign-off process to come to executive as well. And I just thought it was probably worth, and I won't go through all of them, but just running through the criteria that the assurance board measured the business case against. So the assurance group was satisfied that the business case was prepared independently and in accordance with the Treasury Green Book rules. The project is deliverable and has strong direction from the Environment Agency as well, and also that the project itself is capable of spending the town development by the government deadline of 25-26. The project also demonstrates significant value for money and long-term strategic benefits for Bridgwater and the surrounding areas for the reasons that I outlined earlier on in terms of protecting homes and businesses, but also securing those future growth ambitions for the town and surrounding areas. And then finally, the funding agreement can be entered into with the Environment Agency, and that's to ensure that appropriate monitoring and reporting of project delivery can be carried out, which is part of Sedgemoor District Council's role as accountable body for the town deal process as well. Now, again, I won't run through the different comments. Like I said, I'm sure everyone's read through those as well. But I do just want to kind of just conclude on this paper in terms of the fact that this is the first of 11 projects supported through the Bridgwater Town Deal process. Following the award of £23.2 million of government funding. That the project is a major infrastructure scheme which will provide essential protection against flooding and, like I said, also to support ambitious growth plans as well for the area. And finally, that the completed business case demonstrates significant value for money from an investment perspective, but also I can confirm that it meets the Bridgwater Town Investment Plan objectives as well. Now, happy to go through any bits that or answer any questions around bits that I haven't covered, or obviously any of the bits that I have run through as well. So that's the report, and I hand back over to members now.
Yeah, thank you. And it was a significant milestone a week or so ago when the Transport Works order was agreed, and that came as a great relief certainly to me, having remembered what it was like in 2014. Standing at the side of the river in Bridgwater over several nights, hoping that the high tide wouldn't overtop the river, and it coming within millimetres of doing so. So I certainly don't want to go through that again. So I'm happy for this to move forward. But before I ask for people's opinion, Councillor Mike Caswell.
Thank you, Leader. Well, you stole my thunder a bit there. Actually, I was so pleased for for a lot of reasons that Right Honourable Member for the Secretary of State for the Environment, George Eustace, actually signed the Transport and Works order. It was a great relief to me, and actually, for being a Bridgwater lad, I've noticed that the effects and the good works that barrier will do to protect the people of Bridgwater and the businesses of Bridgwater will be absolutely paramount. So I'm really, really, really happy to support this in every way I can. It does fall within my portfolio, so it really is another tick in the box for me. And also, can I say that perhaps Councillor Revens will actually ask me a different question at every full council now. That's a little joke for Bill. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I should also add that thanks should go to our MP who badgered George Eustace in the corridors in Westminster in order to get it across that final signature. Councillor Slocum.
Leader, I'll come in at the end if I may, and my apologies, I was a bit quick with my hand.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Revens.
Thank you, Leader, and I'm absolutely confident that Councillor Caswell will be delighted to have a different question from me at full council. It has been a long time trying to get the answer after George Eustace and wherever and whoever did the badgering. Thank goodness we've at last got an answer on that one. So we're one step closer, and now about to take another step closer. As my understanding, this frees up 2 million from the Towns Fund bid today for a total project of 128 million. What's our progress on the total portfolio for the funding of this project? I'm obviously very aware that we have infrastructure money that has been set aside from Section 106s and so on from historically through the last few years. I'd just like to understand where we are on achieving the timescales for this, not least because, as I understand it, there is a deadline by which the town deal money needs to be spent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nathaniel. I don't know whether you can answer that or Mr. Bamsey.
Doug's got his hand up, so I'll let Doug go first, but I'm happy to pick up any points afterwards.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bamsey.
Thank you very much. A good question from Councillor Revens. We're assembling the local finance package to go with the national funding, and this would be a major contribution to it. It's not finalised, that funding package. One of the key considerations we're going to have or are having is with the linkage to the gravity enterprise zone, for example, whereby local business rate is kept locally. So our business is kept locally, and that can be therefore put into the scheme. So that's a major consideration. The fact that we haven't got the entire funding package entirely nailed down yet isn't an issue. Very much the project is continuing in that knowledge, but we're confident that we will provide a complete package for it when the time's required. The works there will be survey work and so on undertaken now in the very near future to align with the programme, and we will probably see the initial construction activity, which is going to be things like access roads later in this year. So it's very much a live project. So it's an ongoing process, Councillor Evans, in terms of bringing that local package together. But together with, and I say local is rather confusing because actually there is national funding in the local pot because, for example, the Environment Agency is pursued successfully and is continuing to pursue people like Department of Education who will contribute because of the school protection, National Highways England, National Highways because of the protection for the M5, and so it goes on. So that's quite a nice combination of so I'd rather have national funding, which is actually in the local pot, but equally, as you say, we also have that fund that we will have by way of effectively what is a roof tracks and sill. So, and it's our first priority, as you well know, in the sill priority list, the rather confusingly 1, 2, 3 list, which isn't a 1, 2, 3 list at all. But so it's that so we're on it, and we have every confidence.
Thank you. Nathaniel, anything you wish to add?
No, Doug has covered it off succinctly.
Okay, fair enough then. And then Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. I also would like to thank our MP, who's done a brilliant job in Little Granger. Obviously, this is a massive project, but today this is about the Towns Fund, and this is part of 11 projects that's being supported by the Bridgewater Town Deal, and this is the starting point, which is absolutely fabulous. But I have to say, there's such an immense amount of work for this town deal to get many of these fabulous projects on the way, and I have to say thank Doug and Nathaniel, because the work is immense, and the many meetings that go, but we're going to get what we want, we're going to get what we need. So I would like to thank them personally, and I would like to recommend those 3 recommendations to you, which are set out, and I would like to move those, please, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you, and they'll be seconded, I've no doubt, by Councillor Caswell. Members, are there any dissenting voices then for the 3 recommendations before you? Are there any abstentions? Oh. Mr. Melhuish.
Thank you very much, Leader, members. So that's a unanimous recommendation from the advisory meeting to yourself. So it's over to you, Leader, to confirm those 3 recommendations, if you're happy to do so.
Yeah, I'm happy so to do. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to everybody who's contributed to the executive today. And I believe there's no further business. Therefore, I declare the meeting closed, and thank you very much, Andrew.